Today's supposed to be Taxation Tuesday for Rick Perry, the moment when he reveals his plan for a flat tax for all Americans. But I'm afraid we must start with the candidate who is smoking up the charts, the godfather himself, Herman Cain. In a brand new CBS New York Times poll, Cain leads with a full quarter of Republican primary voters, cruising past Mitt Romney's 21%. Just weeks ago, the two men were tied at 17%. But the Cain train is not only driving the polls, it's also pushing the GOP in terms of policy and influencing the other candidates. Jumping on the 999 bandwagon, the new flat tax is now the centerpiece of Rick Perry's plan, as announced today in the battleground state of South Carolina. But today, the Cain campaign has everyone a Twitter. Not about taxes, but tobacco, as featured in a new web ad. Take a look.
We've run a campaign like nobody's ever seen. But then, America's never seen a candidate like Herman Cain. Together, we can do this. We can take this country back.
Somewhat dishevelled smoker in question is Mark Block, Cain's campaign manager, and a man with a smoking gun of his own. Block is otherwise known for his role in a voter suppression scheme in Milwaukee, for which he was banned from Wisconsin politics for 3 years and fined $15,000 for violating campaign laws. That effort at disenfranchising college students and African Americans was during Block's tenure as the Wisconsin Director of Americans for Prosperity, a group with strong ties to, yes, those infamous Koch brothers. Indeed, the Americans for Prosperity Foundation is chaired by none other than billionaire conservative David Koch himself. The Koch brothers' main man, Herman Cain, has travelled the country speaking on behalf of the pro-corporate anti-government group. And you might take a wild guess as to who would benefit most from Cain's 999 tax plan? Could it be billionaires? Let's bring in our political panel now. With me in New York, MSNBC analyst Alex Wagner, and joining us from Washington, MSNBC political analyst David Corn. And Alex, 8 out of 10 Republican voters are not sure of who they should go with. Do you think Herman Cain is about to become the accidental nominee?
It is entirely possible and not entirely unterrifying, Martin. Look, we know there's the GOP voters have been very undecided. There's a lot of thinking that, look, Herman Cain is a flash in the pan, but he's had some staying power. I think there's a real desire on the part of the GOP base to elect someone with fire. I call it the Fruit Loops theory. They're walking down the grocery aisle. They have a choice between Wheaties, which is obviously Mitt Romney, and Fruit Loops, which is obviously Herman Cain. They want someone with buzz, someone with appeal. Certainly the fact that Herman Cain would be the GOP's first African-American nominee.
Even though Fruit Loops will give them diabetes. David, that dishevelled smoker in the ad appears to have something of a sinister past, doesn't he? Voter suppression backed by the billionaire Koch brothers. These are the men who are behind Herman Cain, aren't they?
Yes, and he also was in the X-Files, you might recall that.
He was?
The smoking man behind every conspiracy theory.
Absolutely.
He ran the Wisconsin branch of Americans for Prosperity when they were caught in the last recall election running a voter suppression scheme. Back in 1997, he was basically kicked out of Wisconsin politics for 3 years and fined $15,000 for violating state election law by coordinating independent expenditures with, I think, a contest for a state judge.
So he sounds perfectly qualified to run Herman Cain's campaign.
And of course, he smokes, which is not irrelevant here, because Herman Cain, when he ran the National Restaurant Association, the NRA, a different NRA, it was considered to be basically an offshoot of Big Tobacco. It kept lobbying on behalf of Big Tobacco again and again and again. So there's a real tobacco past in Herman Cain's own career.
Is that you agree with that?
I think, well, we've focused so much on the pizza and pepperoni part of Herman Cain's
That we've
bio.
missed
The lobbyist part is very significant. The New York Times actually had a great piece on that a couple days ago. This is someone that has worked against raising the minimum wage, someone who's worked against lowering the blood alcohol limit to discourage drunk driving. I mean, Herman Cain very much has a history inside Washington and operating inside Washington.
What about the influence of the Koch brothers, though, behind him?
Well, I mean, I think that this is sort of the untold story of American politics, which is very much ongoing with the rise of super PACs. The Koch brothers have, in effect, I mean, they are determining the platform for the country's, for the other party, which is to say the Republican Party. I mean, you have oil refinery interests basically dictating the policy platform of the GOP.
Yeah, they've put together, they have the money behind Americans for Prosperity, which try to organize the Tea Party into electoral movement. They have funded many of the climate change denialists. They were big funders in Wisconsin of Governor Scott Walker, who was behind the anti-union bill there. He's now facing recall. And the interesting thing, we have a story up at motherjones.com today that says that there's a loophole in the Wisconsin law that will allow Governor Scott Walker in this campaign to not be recalled, to accept as much unlimited money as he can gather. So if the Koch brothers want to keep him in power, they can basically give him anything. Sky's the limit.
David, so are you suggesting that the smiling face of Herman Cain is in fact a puppet that's being manipulated by the power of the Koch brothers?
Well, I'm not sure he's being manipulated, but he certainly is in league with them, and behind that smiling face is Mr. Smoker there, and the 999 plan under almost every conceivable analysis, except of course that of Herman Cain, would lower taxes for the super rich and raise them on everybody else, making up to about $150,000 to $200,000.
Now, David, I understand that you actually own the domain name 999.com.
No, Martin, let me get it right here.
Please do.
I'm pitching it. It's 999plan.com. That's 999plan.com.
And you own it?
I own it, and I put it up to sale. I'm willing to sell it to Herman Cain for a market-determined price, or to Mitt Romney, or Rick Santorum, or Rick Perry, anybody else who might have an interest. Right now, we have a few interesting features up at 999plan.com, including a dog eating pizza with a human hand.
Yeah, that's very good. And you've also got some other interesting graphs up, as I understand it, such as this one, showing the recent Tax Policy Center analysis of Herman Cain's plan. And just look at how taxes plunged for the wealthiest under 999, as we expected, but they go absolutely rocketing for the rest of us.
I know. It's really a good deal for the Koch brothers. It's a good deal for Mitt Romney. It's a good deal for Herman Cain and for the president. For those of us making less than $200,000, you may have to pay a little bit more. And you see already within the Republican Party, people like Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum in the last debate was attacking Herman Cain for a plan that would raise taxes on the middle class. So the longer he stays at the top of the GOP heap, I think we're going to see some class warfare attacks on him from other Republicans.
Alex, isn't there also a fight to simplicity, a fight to make the system of fiscal economics in a nation as simplistic as possible? We had 999. We're going to have the flat tax. What's coming next?
Well, it's because we're increasingly, the candidates are running on sound bites. I mean, I think the fault lies on both sides there, both the American public for not having more bandwidth that it's willing to dedicate to actual policies and prescriptions and the issues. The media is certainly at fault, and of course candidates are playing to that. I think, say what you will about Mitt Romney's 59-point plan, the guys really thought through it.
That's the problem, though. Yeah, no one wants to read 59 points.
But at the same time, I don't think that should be the basis of but that shouldn't be the basis of the criticism.
What were you saying, David?
I was saying, who can remember 59 points? But listen, if there's a war of simple going on in the Republican Party here now, I can do basic math. And 999 adds up to 27, and Rick Perry's 2020 adds up to 40. So right away, Rick Perry has lost the war on simple.
Okay, very quick and final question to both of you. Alex, flavor of the month, black walnut ice cream, or a serious potential candidate for president?
I still believe in this country and the American public. I gotta think it's flavor of the month. He's coming out with a big foreign policy speech, theoretically, sometime in the next few weeks.
That's going to be hilarious. It was Becky Starr.
Presumably that will not be mentioned, but we'll be awaiting with bated breath.
David?
I think the 30-minute delivery time on Herman Cain is about to run out.
David Corn and Alex Wagner, thank you so much for joining us.